Wesley Branch Rickey was born on December 20th, 1881 in Stockdale, Ohio. He became the catcher for Ohio Wesleyan University in 1900, and while there he received his Bachelor of Arts. In 1902, he began to play football for the Shelby Blues. After just one season, he signed a contract with Indiana to play baseball in the Class B minor league. After 2 years in the minors, he made his major league debut with the St. Louis Browns in 1905. After having a terrible year with the New York Highlanders in 1907, Rickey retired with a batting average below .200. He then went back to college at the University of Michigan, where he received his bachelor's in law. After months of bickering with the dean of sports, Rickey was hired as the University of Michigan's baseball coach. During his years as coach, the team's record was 68 wins, 32 losses, and 4 ties between the years of 1910 and 1913. In 1913, he returned to the major leagues as front office executive for the St. Louis Browns. In 1917, he served as a U.S. Army officer in a chemical warfare unit overseas in France during World War I. When he returned from war in 1919, Rickey became team manager for his old team's crosstown rivals, the St. Louis Cardinals. While with the Cardinals, he assisted in the creation of the famous logo, which originated from a design in a Presbyterian church. At age 43, Rickey was fired from the Cardinals early into the 1925 season. Rickey now began to focus on his several minor league clubs, which he had been investing in. These clubs would develop to later be used in the major leagues. In 1942, Rickey was hired to replace the president and general manager of the Dodgers, who had enlisted to serve in World War II. After leaving the Dodgers in 1950, Branch became general manager of the Pirates. In 1955, Rickey retired from baseball due to health complications. On December 29, 1962, Branch Rickey returned to the Cardinals for a final go at baseball as a part-time consultant. On November 13, 1965, Rickey sadly collapsed in the middle of his speech while being elected to the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. After a 26-day coma, Rickey died of a heart attack on December 9th at 10 p.m. This was only 11 days before his 84th birthday. In 1967, he was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. His legacy follows. Batting helmets are a staple of baseball today, but in the early days of the sport it wasn't common at all. The first helmets began to show up around 1905 and were used solely as face guards for catchers. The first large-scale protectant wasn't readily available until 2 to 3 years later. This helmet essentially was just a quart-filled baseball cap. Even after catcher Ray Chapman was fatally beanballed, it wasn't until 1937, after Mickey Cochran suffered a career-ending skull fracture, that a new interest was found in batting helmets. And it wasn't until 1941 that the National Baseball League started to require batting helmets for spring training. On March 8th of that same year, Branch Rickey became the first general manager to announce that his team would be wearing batting helmets in the regular season. By 1941, only one other team had decided to join Rickey by wearing helmets in the regular season. By 1941, helmets were a dying fad. Once again, with the aid of Branch Rickey, helmets came back into the sport of baseball in 1953. In the 1953 season, Branch Rickey was the first and only team to mandate all players to wear helmets. If you were a Pittsburgh Pirate, you wore a helmet. Since then, helmets have grown in popularity and are required by all teams today. The helmets used today even show a resemblance to those required by Branch Rickey in his 1953 season.
As general manager of the St. Louis Cardinals in 1921, Branch Rickey came up with his plan to develop players through a chain of Cardinal-owned minor league teams. He then bought 18% of the Texas League's Houston Buffaloes and got control of Fort Smith of the Western Association. followed by purchasing the Syracuse Stars of the International League. Success from his farm system came quickly, as the Cardinals won their first World Series in 1926. After much success with the Cardinals, Rickey became general manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers, where he brought his farm system with him. His player development program led to his next great innovation, the spring training complex. In Vero Beach, Florida, Rickey used a complex system to train, analyze, and assign different players to their minor league teams. Both his farm system and spring training complex became models for other major league teams and are still used today.
In 1908, as a player coach at Ohio Wesleyan, Branch Rickey and his team took a trip to South Bend, Indiana to play Notre Dame. At the team hotel, teammate Charles Thomas was denied a room. Thomas was allowed to sleep in a cot in Rickey's room by Rickey's request. While sleeping in a cot, he said, black skin, if only I could make them white." Thomas's words broke Rickey's heart. Later in his life, Rickey is quoted saying in an AP interview, "I vowed that I would always do whatever I could to see that other Americans did not have to face the bitter humiliation that was heaped upon Charles Thomas." In 1943, he began to move towards these goals by gaining the authorization from the Dodgers Board of Directors to begin the search for the first modern-era MLB player that was African American. This search was pushed forward in 1944 with the death of then-current Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis, who strongly opposed integration. The new commissioner, Happy Chandler, was very supportive of Rickey's objectives. After searching nationally through the Negro Leagues for black players who were not only exceptional baseball players, but exceptional human beings. After compiling many names, 3 notable individuals were among those selected, including catcher Roy Campanella, pitcher Don Newcomb, who started their minor league careers with the Nashua Dodgers, and infielder Jackie Robinson, who was sent to the Montreal Royals in 1946. Robinson, the most infamous of the 3, became the first modern-era black MLB player in 1947 and went on to have a Hall of Fame career despite the tribulations he faced and handled throughout his entire career, proving Rickey had made the right choice. Following Robinson in 1948 was Roy Campanella, who also had a Hall of Fame career and also had a large impact on the game after his career as a player. Following these two in 1949 was Don Newcomb, who went on to have an all-star career as well. The success and acceptance into baseball of these players chosen by Rickey have helped pave the way for thousands of black players since. Rickey can also be credited for helping the integration of Hispanic players as he drafted Roberto Clemente, who like Robinson was not only a superb athlete, but also was an amazing person. Today, organizations such as the MLB's Urban Youth Academy continue Rickey's dream of integration into the MLB.